got to play
Daitoshi.
Now, this game is all about being in harmony with nature as you
I don't
develop.
see it that way.
Well, I kind of do.
I see it as you're explaining the natives. This is in the same storyline as Bitoku.
Okay. There's a balancing of nature bits.
You're destroying their habitat, and then you're bribing them, and then you're putting them to work. It doesn't seem to me like this is harmony.
Well, all I know is I'm trying to get rid of tiles of the different elements. Okay,
whatever.
So this game is from Devir Games. The last one we got to play was Rock Hard. So that one was a little disappointing on my end. So I was really hoping but with it being, kind of with Bitoku, I was hoping for good things. But before we get into it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and that notification bell because board games are amazing, and that's what we do here at Legends of Nirvana. Now, Randy, can you tell us a little bit more about this game?
I can. So this is a 2024 release. It has a Board Game Geek rating of 7.7, a Board Game Geek rank of 4,036, which is pretty good. I think this was a Essen release for them. It has a 1 to 4 player game. It has a pretty robust 1 player game in it. 120 minutes it says in the book or on the box. Don't buy it. It's much longer. Age 14 and up. That's probably true because there are a lot of rules to this game.
This one's crunchy, guys. Do not know.
This is definitely a medium to heavy game. It doesn't look that way, and once you get playing, it plays pretty simple.
There's so many minute rules.
And a lot of iconography. But they do give you a booklet of cheat sheet for icons.
Which, by the way, fantastic.
Yeah, we'll get to that with rules. Yeah. So the design of this is by Danny Garcia. Art is by Marina Vidal. Published, as you mentioned, by Devir. The MSRP on this is a little steep, $69.99, but you get some nice bits we'll talk about in a moment.
I'm not mad about it.
Tabletop Merchant has it the cheapest online for $50.99. Game Nerds is $55.97. That's 2 cents cheaper than pretty much everybody else. So Card House, Miniature Market, take your pick. They're all $55.99.
All right, so let's talk about quality of components. Pretty. So your inlay tokens, they're like plastic.
The boards are amazing. The inlay boards are really well done.
Well, and then you've got like your bus, your meeples, like you've got a lot of cool things. Oh, thing that I liked, your player characters can be boy or girl.
And they're screen printed.
And they're screen printed.
On one side, unfortunately, but they're still screen printed.
They're still really nice.
Yeah.
So overall, I'm really happy with the quality of components. I mean, yeah, you still have some cardboard chits and some cardboard tiles, but plus it's beautiful.
Yeah, and your bus is pulled by a slug. I love that. I don't know why it's pulled by a slug, but I like it.
I just thought it was a really short card, to be honest with you.
It's a slug.
No, overall, I'm really, really happy with this. There's a lot of bits. Even for that price point, I think you get what you pay for in this. It's, I don't think it's like a super value for money, but you're paying
you're getting a lot of pieces and a lot of good quality ones. I mean, these plastic, for a retail version, this looks like a Kickstarter edition.
Right, so I'm not mad about the cost in any way, shape, or form. So with that, I'm probably going to give this probably an 8.75. I think that it did a fantastic job on the pieces.
I'm probably going to go a 9. Not that it's much different than your 8.75. I don't see much to take off for here. I mean, everything is well cut, well designed. Your inlay board, like I said, that to me wins me over because everything fits nicely in it. The only disappointment I had on the board was that the ribbon didn't have inlay. I didn't understand that at all because everything else is inlaid. So that's really it's a very minor thing. But yeah, I think to me this is a 9.
Okay. All right. So let's move on to the actual theme. There was some debate of what the theme is.
You can figure out what the thing is this is a part 5 of a 6-part story so far that came out after Sand, which is part 6. But if you could play these games and make a story out of them, you're better than I am because I don't know what the heck's going on.
Okay. I thought you were managing the elements because
Well,
you're taking resources.
Here's what the book says. We have finally perfected the power of steam, and we can now use it to our advantage. We live in an unprecedented era of progress, and new steam-powered inventions are developed faster than ever. Cities are growing, trade is flourishing, and we are developing our most ambitious machine ever, a giant contraption that will bring even more progress to the city as it rids us of the burden of relying on animals for labor. Yes, some trees are being cut down and the river doesn't flow as plentifully as before, but there's still an abundance of trees and water, and we can use the extra space to expand our city. Fairy tales and myths should not stand in the way of progress. So again, this is all about purging the lands that these natives live on. So I haven't played Sand yet to see if it's like them getting angry and coming back at you, because yeah, in this game they do take their vengeance on you if you get them too angry.
Yeah, but not horrible.
No,
it's not horrible. So, okay, I didn't know about the inventions thing because that's what this board is over here.
Yeah, but they don't ever explain what the invention does. You just have this
What, you
machine.
don't rely on the animals
It's a blimp, but yeah, I mean, they don't ever explain what it is. And,
I don't know, you just fill it up.
Yeah.
Is it kind of loose? Yes. Is it very pretty, though? Absolutely.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, we talked about, what was the mountain one, the Whistle Mountain, and how that one made zero sense. That's how all of these games are.
This one's not as bad as Whistle Mountain.
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Whistle Mountain didn't make any sense from top or bottom. This, at least, you're like, okay, you don't want to anger them too much. You don't want to take too much from the different sources. Like, that kind of makes sense.
You're draining the entire river, and you're draining, or at least one of those resources is going to be completely depleted by the end of the game, pretty much.
Well, I mean, I didn't say it was the smart thing to do.
Okay.
It's just part of the game, Randy.
Yes.
You're making it difficult.
No, it's just, if you're going to have a story that carries 6 parts to it, you would think there'd be a story, not...
Well, maybe we're just not playing them in the right order. I don't know.
Well, we're definitely not. We've definitely skipped around, but it doesn't, it's still, it doesn't feel like there's a cohesive story to have it, like, labeling it like that. Now, it does feel like it's part of the Bitoku universe, because you got the same characters, either little, whenever I was getting it out, I didn't realize it was part of the Bitoku series, and I saw those little egg monks, and I'm like, this looks just like the ones from Bitoku, and sure enough, it was.
They are. We have our discourse, but what's your score?
Given how pretty it is, it's really cluttered, but it's pretty, but so is Bitoku. I'll probably go ahead and give this a 7, but I just don't see the story here.
I'm going to give it a little bit higher. I think there is a little bit of a story here, and I kind of see it, and the art is absolutely breathtaking for me. So I'm probably going to give this a 7.75. I think
you're hooked on your 7 or 0.75
well,
tonight.
I just not sure it goes to an 8, but I feel like it's more than 7.5. Like, it's just kind of
okay, whatever.
Listen, I'm trying to figure it out. All right. So moving on to the actual rule book.
So it is a 36-page rule book, and it is a beast to read.
Yeah, you don't have to go over all the pages.
No, I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna tell you, it is a slog to read this sucker. It does carry pretty much every rule in it. There's the only confusion I had was there was like one space that you go to where you don't have to spend workers. At first I was trying to figure out how you get workers, because you get workers by exploiting the environment, but you don't start with any. And it seemed like in order to get workers, you had to spend workers, but that's not true. There's actually a space, but I had somehow missed that, or I didn't find it in the rulebook. Some of the examples are not very good in here. They'll kind of gloss over the parts that seem like they're confusing in the rulebook. And the game goes to the gameplay goes to page 33, so it is a pretty extensive length rules. Then it goes into solo mode. In the solo mode, so the rules go to page 27, and then it goes into the solo mode. So solo mode goes from 28 to page 35, and then the back is 36. So it's got a pretty exhaustive. 7 pages is pretty abnormally long for a solo mode. But the best part of the whole rule book is this cheat sheet. Once you get the basic iconography down, the turns are labeled at the top, and it's got page references to tell you.
Well,
where
then the
to look.
iconography's on the back page
Yeah.
too. Like this, and
well, it's all throughout.
It's all throughout. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
Totally 10 on a 10 on the
yeah. I really think, the rule book itself would have been, just because of the slog of it, reading it, and the fact that it's not easy to interpret. And there's so many little rules, but this takes care of 90% of it.
The only thing is, with the production, they did not in the cheat or in the cheat sheet mention that you go up on the tracks based on your production cube.
Yeah.
That's an important key indicator that I really think should have been.
There's a lot of little things that are left out of this cheat sheet. It's more to remind you of how things work.
Yeah,
than
but
it
you
is
get
to explain all the rules.
I know, but there could have been a little bit of, I don't know, some iconography to remind you, because how else are you going to remember?
Yeah.
Because there's so many small rules.
Yeah,
like,
it's easy to overlook or forget something in this game. And the first time we played, we definitely overlooked some stuff. I think.
Well, even the second time we didn't. There was some stuff we overlooked until midway through the game.
So yeah, this is going to be something that's a brain burner to understand and get all the rules down and get it right. As far as the gameplay itself, it's pretty intuitive once you actually get playing. You really only have two choices of actions, which we'll go through in gameplay a little bit. But it's not that hard once you get to actually playing it. It's more about, there's a lot of choices to make within those two actions.
Well, and here's the thing though, making sure you capture the whole entire essence of your turn, right? Because when you go to a location on the board, and then we're kind of getting into gameplay, but there is a lot of rules, and it's more about making sure you hit all those points.
Yeah. And remembering things you can trigger that you've got the flags assigned to, because we kept forgetting those.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on, and you kind of have to manage it. So,
so given that, I'm going to go ahead and give. I probably would have given the rule book itself a 7. I probably will, because of the cheat sheet, I'll probably go ahead and give it an 8, because the cheat sheet is really good.
Yeah, I agree. The cheat sheet is pretty fantastic. So, moving on to gameplay. Alright, so you have two options as you take your turn. You can either produce, or you can move on the board. Now, production seems pretty straightforward in the fact that you have 3 different buildings. If you trigger each of those buildings by paying the Steam cost, you get to trigger all the inventions that you have in that building or in that column. And when you do, so I'm going to pay the Steam. Maybe I only want to do 2 of my 3 buildings, or maybe I want to do all of them, or maybe I only want to do 1. You have that option because Steam is very rough, okay? Mm-hmm. So you may want to trigger all of them. You may not have that choice. But when you do, if you triggered the production yourself, you are going to move each cube up 2 times, which will give you sometimes victory points, actions.
At the end of your production.
At the end of the production. This is very true.
So you don't get the perks that you might get going on, because each of these inventions can be upgraded. Pretty much everything in this game can be upgraded.
Which is kind of nice. I actually like that a lot. But anyway, so say I did this column here. I'm going to get 2 rice balls. Okay, so there is a blue marker and a red check mark. A blue check mark and a red check mark. The red check mark only triggers when you take your turn, or when you're producing yourself, okay? The blue check mark is when you or anyone else is produced and you choose to trigger, okay? So in that case, if I only did this column here, I would get 2 rice balls, 2 electricity, or 1 electricity, 2 victory points, and then 1 movement up on the red track, okay? So that's this here. Yeah. And then I would move up my cubes. And I would have made sure if I had to pay more for Steam to do that.
And they have X's on the board to indicate what you can and cannot produce, check marks and X's, which is really clear and easy to follow.
Absolutely.
And as you mentioned, kind of alluded to, even if it's not my turn and somebody else triggers the production action, I can still pay and follow, but I will not get to trigger.
Right, you only get to move up your cube once per invention that you trigger, instead of twice like you do if you actually did the trigger. And then again, you don't get those red check marks.
And you don't get to move up the track.
Well, you do once.
You don't get to move up the tracks up there.
Oh,
when you're
correct.
When you're not producing.
And that's the one thing that we kept forgetting I felt like should have been on the sheet is, okay, if I triggered production, I triggered one building, I get to move up once on any of the scoring tracks. But if I did a second or third building, I would have 2 to 3 consecutively, based on how many of these buildings I triggered. So then the other piece of one of the scoring mechanisms obviously is getting your inventions fully aligned and to fully invented all the way over to the right side with your little cubes. So it's pretty important to actually produce beyond the fact that you're getting stuff, and sometimes it's really harsh because some people may be getting more out of producing than you are. So it's about managing it. Maybe you caught them when they didn't have enough steam, so they're not fully producing or things like that. Or maybe by them producing, you're going to slow them down in their gameplay. So there's a lot of strategic thought process of when to produce and how to do that. The other option is that you can actually move your worker. Now, I'm purple over here. Now, I can move up to 2 spaces for free, and I can pay additional steam to move actually completely around the board. So you can trigger the same thing twice. However, there's a caveat of you can't go to the same space on the tile. So right now I'm at like the 2 to clear the board. I couldn't go to that one, and this is already taken, so I'd have to go to the red if I were to do that. Now, I'm going to go, so right now, I have a red worker, so I'm going to go over here, go to this one right here. Deciding that I have workers to actually place, I'm going to spend 1 steam. I don't have any steam, but we're going to pretend I did. All right, so one of the first things I have to do is I actually have to place my worker. There's only 1 available spot right now, and this is the red worker area, so I have to place a red worker on it. So I'm going to do that, and this allows me to move up my cubes 2 times.
You can move 2 different cubes or 1 same cube twice.
Yes, all right, so I will do that. All right, now I move on to the actual action phase. I'm going to have to exploit the land. I'm going to take a green tile, and by taking a green tile, I also get a green worker, and then I get to trigger that action. Yep. So there's a couple of different actions. This particular action allows me to change the clock pieces into victory points and other benefits down here at this bottom board. You have
to spend a lot of steam to do it, too.
Yeah, you do have to spend a lot of steam. We'll say, didn't realize how powerful this was until, the last fourth of the game in that first game. Once we realized it, we were like, oh, this is pretty powerful. So just kind of be aware of that, that this can...
But it also depends on which ones of these. There's a ton of these.
I don't know.
Tokens.
This one's always going to be, but it does take 7 steams.
Yeah, because these get randomized, so
right.
they could be anything. This could have been down there, and it might not have been as useful.
Well, no, because in the light, it's the fact that you get so many hats. Well, you get to hats, discard a tile.
This hat wouldn't be there necessarily.
No, I know, but you still get 2 hats. You get rid of the tile. You trigger that thing, and you get to set it up and 12 victory.
Yep.
This, it's pretty darn, but it does take a lot of resources. You're looking at 5 different time pieces. You're looking at 7 steam. So it is pretty costly, but it is. We were like, oh, what are we going to do? This is nothing. And then towards the end of that first game, we started using it. We were like, oh, we should have been doing this the whole time.
There's a real interesting way that they've made the steam, process of getting steam, because every time you exploit the land, if you start in the center, but if you get you take the green tile, for example, you will get a coal, which moves you further away from the center down to the bottom of the track. Then if you later on get water from the river, it gives you 2 water, it moves you back up the track, and anytime you move towards the center, you gain 3 steam. So you could go over the center back into the water side if you had 1 coal, or if you had 2 coal, you could get 6 steam. So I like that system. It's very similar to, in a way, to the Glass Road system where it pushes you around, or Black Forest.
Yeah, no, that was pretty fantastic. That was a very interesting play on it. Some of the other actions, there is a wild one, so basically you're taking 2 tiles instead of 1, and you can take any action on the board. The other one allows you to commit to inventions that you will eventually put on your board for your production phase. Then you also have the building of buildings, so basically you can build these rings to it to make the different locations more powerful or more diversified. And then the other one is to electrify the building. So that's basically that upgrading component. So even though you have it in place, if you pay the upgrade cost with the electrify, you turn it over and the part of that building gets more powerful. So those are the different actions that you can also take. There's also one that moves around, and that is that big boat there. It goes around the circle. You can choose to take the action on that board, or if you are where the flying boat is, you can also take this action here. So obviously you can place a worker here, or you can choose to also take the action here. The action is to pay one of each resource, and you get to take an old invention that you've kind of mostly mastered, depending on the location of their thing, but it has to be at the white little circle. You can place it on here, you get victory points and different bonuses, and then you get to pick up a new, more advanced tile. And it holds a lot more victory point. That is also one of the victory point conditions, is having these particular tiles. So just kind of keep that in mind as you play the game. There are a lot of new nuances. I'm afraid to go too deep because we're going to be at it for a while. This might be one of those fun ones to actually do a playthrough with.
Oh, how are you going to film that? It's like a 3 or 4 hour game.
I know. It's so sad, but this one's really interesting, and I think there's a lot of strategy to it. But I don't know. I can dream. Anyway. Overall, though, I absolutely love this game. We played it once. Now, I will say, that first learn, the first half of the game was struggle bus. I was on the struggle bus. I was trying to figure it out. I couldn't. I had too many tiles. I was getting them angered at me. I was losing abilities, and I just couldn't figure it out. When I finally did, it clicked, and I was like, oh, okay. This is how you play the game. But it was a really rough go. And Andrew and Adam both played with us, and all three of us, we were on struggle bus. We were just like, we don't understand. We feel like we should, but we don't. So this one is pretty meaty. I think there's a lot of strategy to it. I really enjoyed it, though. I'm probably gonna give this a 9.5. I liked it that much. I liked it that much.
Yep. So one thing we didn't really talk about too much, we kind of glossed over, is angering the yokai, which are the monks. So basically, when you exploit the land, you take the tile, it goes on your board. If you get a second one or multiple of the same type of tile, the yokai get angry, and at which point they damage your board. So you have to flip over sections of your board. I like that mechanic. So it reduces your ability to get powers on your board. So you have to clear off those tiles, and that's actually the main advantage of building, because you don't get anything when you build. You're setting it up for other players to get advantages potentially before you do, because you're going to have to move around to get them.
But you get rid of the tiles.
But you get rid of 1 or 2 tiles when you do that. And
you have to.
There's other ways to get rid of tiles. But
not nearly as...
The problem I see with this, and we disagree on this one, is that so far, every game we've played, whoever has cleared their tiles out by the end of the game has won the game. And that's because
that's not true, because Andrew cleared his out, so did Adam, and I did as well, but I won significantly more. It's not strictly about
it, but it feels like it's a little overpowered. And the reason is there's 4 scoring tracks at the top, which is as you clear off that land, you actually get perks for stripping of them of their land, because there's bonus. Basically, they act as multipliers for the scoring at the end of the game, and there's 4 different types of in-game scoring you can get. One is based upon, as you mentioned, maxing out your cubes. One is about the machines or the inventions from the Uber machine or whatever it's called.
One is about this track.
Yeah, one is about the ribbons that you can develop up to 7 victory points and then multiplied times the multiplier. And then the last one is for having cleared out these tiles, and for each one you have emptied out. And that one, the water track tends to be hit harder than any of the other ones. It's longer than any of the other ones, as it should be. But in order to produce steam, you need some form of land, and there's 3 types of land, and water, which there's only one source of water. So you're going to hit that water track hard, and it just feels like there's a lot of power in having those cleared off. Now, the other thing is if you don't repair your board by getting rid of those tiles, you get a negative victory points based upon how far you've moved down that river. If you don't move down far enough, you're going to end up losing some significant victory points. It's kind of a double whammy. You don't get the bonus for having purged that tile.
Well, I think it's very clear in the game that you have to manage your tiles.
Oh, I agree.
That's part of the game. That's like one of the key components.
I can't rate it a 9.5 until I see more games where that the person who doesn't, there's other strategies to win other than just having the water gone or the tiles gone plus the other victory points, some of them scoring.
Oh, we were really close.
We were fairly close, but in the end, look how far we're 25 points or something apart. That's not close.
But the game before we were, and you still had tiles left over, and I stopped. We were only like 3 or 4 apart.
Mm-hmm. But we also were that was a fairly inexperienced game. We had no idea what we were doing until the very end.
True.
So,
well, and I think the other big thing is where this one, when we found out that this was actually an action.
Yeah.
I think that crippled your style.
I took advantage of it the first time before anybody else, and I got the big scoring ones on it.
Yeah.
And the board also changes. There's 5 different boards, and there were more
I didn't like this board
points.
as much as the other one.
Yeah, there's more victory points on the other one. So I like everything about this, the mechanics in this game and everything. I want to see some games where we don't have whoever gets the water having the win.
But here's the thing, though. I mean, it's very specific in the gameplay that is something that you have to manage, and to have that cool mechanism of angering the people and removing things, and that's just part of it. And you can mitigate the negativity by going up the water track. So in my viewpoint, you're going up the water track. It's either to gain victory points or to mitigate the negative. I mean, maybe you should go all the way and just go for anger. Like, maybe that's...
Anger all 4 of them, yeah. Weaken your board to the point where you get nothing. That seems like a bad idea.
Well, it's not like truly. I mean...
No, it's not totally devastating, but some of them are pretty darn devastating.
Oh, some of them are pretty nasty.
Like the steam one down here, causing your steam to double.
Oh, that's miserable. That's just miserable. Well, but the thing is, it's also about exchanging the tiles when you need it. So it's not just about, removing the tiles. It's about, okay, I need a space for a green, so I got to move the green and replace it with something else by doing this action here, because you're going to have to pick up tiles each action you take. So it's really, it's a hardcore managing tile placement. And
the other thing is, no matter how many players you have, there's only the same number of building spaces to get rid of tiles. That's the other aspect to it. So, with 2 players, you have more opportunity to purge tiles, which is why I did better this time.
I don't see why you still had tiles left. There was plenty of opportunity.
Because I still had to have the resources to do it.
But
I had 0 production in the materials.
You kept choosing.
And look, you've got 2 places you could actually produce them. I had none, and you had money.
Wilds are the same thing. I mean, come on. I honestly realized that...
I produced watches. I had tons of watches.
Right, and you did not go the watch strategy. It blew my mind. I
tried.
Understand.
You had to have Steam to do that.
Right, and you kept spending Steam on other
either
things.
Way. I don't agree that until I see better opportunities for scoring from other sources and see people win with different strategies, I don't think I can give it a 9.5. I do like it a lot, though. I will give it an 8.5 for now.
It's because we fuss over it. It's because I won both times. That's really what the problem was.
That's part of it. But no, I like games when there's a lot of strategies, but you can win multiple ways.
There is so much strategy in this game.
And it has that, but I don't know that you can win.
No, there are multiple strategies.
We just discussed this, but we don't need to go back into it.
No, my thing is there are multiple strategies in the fact that you can focus on production, you can focus on building, electrifying, you can focus on the time things, but I think at the end of the game, you still always have to manage your tiles. And so, there are different ways to score and beef up, but you have to always manage your tiles. Otherwise, you're going to get screwed. So, But with you, you like to be able to like go like all end of game victory points and screw feeding your workers, right? Where I don't think you can screw, and I think that's pretty much where it's at. This is kind of like feeding your workers, and I don't think you can get out of that in this particular instance. Well, guys, we obviously really enjoyed this game and became very passionate about it.
Yes.
What do you guys think? Have you guys played
I will
it?
point out, when we played it with Adam, he didn't enjoy this at all. And
No,
then
I don't think it was completely.
he seemed very frustrated during the game. And
Right.
then today, he messages me and says, "When are you going to play this again?" And I'm like, "Are you asking because you don't want to play it or because you do want to play it?" And he said, "Because I do want to play it because I've been researching it online because it's one of those games you're going to think about afterwards." And that's what he did.
That's
and now
what
he really wants to play it
That's
again.
what makes it a 9.5 is the fact that you're thinking about
I
how
hope it gets there. I'm starting at 8.5. It may go up.
And so
I don't think it'll go down. I think it'll go up.
this is fantastic. I really enjoyed it. Well, guys, I had a blast. We'll catch you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.